Good morning. Well, today you joined me up on a roof and I'm doing something slightly different, and that's dealing with this windowsill. Now, to be honest, I've been putting this repair off for a few years because when I moved in there was this crack here that I initially filled, and it's not good to have a crack in your windowsill, but at the time the walls were covered in pebble dash and I needed that removed. So since then I've had it removed, I've had the walls repointed, and at that time the windowsill seemed to move forward, and as you can see from the silicone here, it's moved forward about a centimetre. So I'm thinking that I really do need to remove it and fix it properly.
I've only got about an hour to break this up because the cafe downstairs opens at 10 o'clock and I'd like to get this out before the cafe opens. So yeah, let's make a start and let's get drilling.
Right, well there we go. I don't know what I was worried about. I thought that would take absolutely ages, but it only took me 6 minutes. So the windowsill itself wasn't exactly what I was expecting, but I'm not surprised by what I found. So it used to be a brick windowsill, and they would have put a load of bricks in on edge. The problem with that is you end up with a mortar joint between the bricks, and eventually they will fail. So at some stage they've poured concrete over the top to make it waterproof, but obviously where things have shifted over time, that's cracked. So I'm going to continue clearing until I get down to something solid, and then we can start repairing.
Right, well now we're down to something relatively clean and stable. I can start looking at building this back up again. So the plan is to build this back up with rock up to about that sort of level, so it's level all the way across, and then I can then pour a concrete windowsill on top of that. Now I'd love to remove this plastic windowsill off the window here, but I'm not entirely sure how to do it. I've had a quick look, but I just can't work it out. I think it might be screwed from inside the frame, and I don't really want to be removing the glass, so plan is I'll just do the best job I can with a concrete windowsill, and then if I ever have this window replaced, hopefully they can put a plastic windowsill on that actually goes wall to wall. So for now I'm going to have to find some sort of trim to cover these gaps at the end to make it look nice, but the main thing is getting this stable. So next step is sand and cement, which I haven't got, so I'm going to take a quick trip to the shops and I'll pick this back up when I'm ready to put some stone in here. Right, well it feels like it's taken an absolute age to get to this point. Going out to the shops was not fun, but yeah, as you can see I've put a formwork up. So this is to support when I pour the concrete to make the windowsill, but I thought by having that board there it'll make sure I'm not putting these stones in too far forward as well. So yeah, mix the batch of muck up. I'm making sure that I'm spraying everything down with water before I put stuff in, because obviously I don't want the bricks and that absorbing the water out of the cement before it's had time to cure. But yeah, obviously sun's moved around. It's quite hot and sunny here. I'm hoping you're getting a good view. but it's all going to be behind the board anyway, so you're not going to see much of it. But yeah, let's get this in, because that cement's going to go off pretty quick. Right, well that's the front part of the wall done. It doesn't look too bad, so if that doesn't dry out too quickly, that should hopefully look alright, and once it's given a coat of paint, it should blend in nicely with the wall. Now obviously there's quite a large cavity behind it. Now the way the old stone walls work is you've got effectively a stone wall on the outside, a stone wall on the inside, then the central cavity they fill with rubble, so it's a little bit like a cavity wall, so that air gap in the middle has a little bit of airflow to it, and that's what helps keep the wall dry. So the plan is to fill that up with a little bit of stone rubble, and then I can pour the proper windowsill on top of that. So yeah, for now I'm thinking I'll put some boards in front of this so it's not in direct sunlight, and leave that to cure probably until later this afternoon, if not tomorrow morning. So see you in a bit. Right, well it's a few hours later and I've put the formwork back in place, because the mortar mix that I used earlier has gone off now, so when you poke it, it is relatively solid. Obviously if you push it really hard you can deform the cement still, but I'm thinking if I pour the next layer on now, then there's a possibility they might actually stick together, because this is technically still wet cement. It might not, but to be honest it's going to be no worse than if I'd left this overnight. But yeah, so formwork is simple wooden formwork. I've put sellotape on the inside to make sure that it doesn't stick, so that should hopefully make it easier to get off. The other big change I've done is I've taken the windowsill off. So it was a little bit of a faff to do, but I persisted. I looked at it and I found a screw in this corner. I unscrewed that. I thought actually this bit comes down relatively easily. Irritatingly, there was a screw there and a screw there, which I had to sit here for ages with a hacksaw to try and cut through the screws. Once I cut the 3 screws out, that has come out without any problem. It doesn't seem to have been stuck to the window at all. It just seemed to be sat there. So yeah, I might try and put that back in afterwards, but that has given me the added benefit of I can use the sticks like that to go between the indoor windowsill and the front of the formwork, because I can go right inside now. But yeah, hopefully by the end of the day I'll have that sorted. And obviously I filled up the void here. I've used broken slate in here, theory being that it shouldn't wick the water across. If I used broken cement, there's a possibility that it'd sort of transfer the moisture, but slate being rock, it shouldn't transfer the moisture, or at least that's the theory. So now for the harder part, let's make up a load of concrete rather than mortar. So that's got the larger stones in it, and yeah, let's start pouring a windowsill. Right, well that's looking pretty good. Now I'm probably going to give this about a half hour to an hour to set up, firm up a little bit more, and then I'll probably just give it another quick skim over the surface here just to get out any ridges that I can see. But to be honest, the main thing is it's sloped away from the window, so any water landing on that will run off. If I can get it looking nicer, that'll be even better. The other thing is, chances are, because of the type of mix this is and the way I've done the formwork, I'm probably going to end up with air bubbles all around the formwork. I have tried hitting it with a hammer to try and get some of the bubbles to raise out, but if there are little voids, as long as there's nothing too major, then I can just fill them in with a bit of mortar mix in the morning once I've taken the form off. So I think for now we're just going to leave this to set up. So I'll pick this up in the morning and see what it looks like once I've taken the form off. See you in a bit. Right, well it's a few hours later. I've given the surface here a wipe over with a damp sponge and it's come up looking absolutely fantastic. I'm loving the way it looks. Now it's starting to get dark. Blackbird's telling me I should be going to bed. But I'm thinking I want to take the form off of this, because if I can get the form off now, I can give the front edge a quick wipe over with the sponge as well, and hopefully that should give a nice flow, because otherwise I'm going to end up with a rough edge where the form is. So hopefully this won't go wrong, hopefully I won't break it. I'm going to carefully try and take this form off, so yeah, let's see how we do. Right, well that's bulk of the form off. I will say I'm a little disappointed in this front edge. I was hoping having the tape on the form there would stop it from sticking, and I think because of the way I've removed the form, I've pulled it off rather than sliding it sideways. It took some of the front edge with it, so it's a little rougher than I would like. Wiping it over with a damp sponge has smoothed it out a reasonable amount. You can still see some of the stones there sticking through, but to be honest, I'm not too disappointed. It's an old house, so it gives it a bit more of a rustic look. It kind of fits in, so at the moment it's solid. It'll get the water off from the wall, so I'm pretty pleased with how it's looking. Once I've given it a coat of paint, you probably won't notice anyway, so yeah. I'm going to leave this to cure now. I'll probably pick this up next week, but yeah, I'm going to leave this to cure, and yeah, I'll pick it up when I'm ready to paint it, I think, so yeah. Right, well it's a week later, everything's cured and dried up properly, so let's give this a coat of paint. Right, well that's looking good. Obviously it'll still need a couple more coats, and I still need to put the windowsill back to fill that gap below the window. So I'm going to fiddle on and do that for the rest of the day, and yeah, I'll show you what it looks like when I'm finished, so see you in a bit. Right, well 2 coats of paint later, and I would say this windowsill is finished. So it looks so much smarter than the old one, because it's that little bit thinner, and obviously I've got no fear of this dropping out from the wall, because I know that everything underneath that is nice and solid. I've also done a little bit of a repair around the window, because I've taken all the old silicone that was going around there off, and I've replaced it with frame sealant. So if you've ever used decorator's caulk, frame sealant is basically the same sort of thing. It's acrylic based, but it is designed for use exterior. Brilliant thing about it is you can actually overpaint it. Unlike the silicone, the paint doesn't flake off, so that should give me a much better seal around the window. I did put the old windowsill in. I would have been nice to put a new one in, but to be honest, it'd be nice to have an entire new window on here, so I just wanted to do a temporary repair. So I've got a couple of end caps there, so the windowsill looks a lot better as well. But yeah, so I think that looks absolutely brilliant for a couple of days worth of work, and I'm really pleased with that. But yeah, I'm going to end this video here. I'm going to go and enjoy the garden, because all this warm weather and sunshine's made everything grow. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you left it a like, and I shall see you later.